So I really love cinema, and I think it is films like Anora that remind me of why this is such an important and just beautiful art form. So if you haven't heard of Anora, it follows this character of Anora who is propositioned by this very wealthy young Russian man to be his exclusive escort for a week. Within that week, they sort of fall in love, they get married, and this has some major consequences for them going forward. And this film is lauded because of that premise as sort of a modern day take on Pretty Woman. And there are elements to that. But I think that what this film does so brilliantly is that it deconstructs those tropes of romantic comedies, of fantasies like Cinderella and things of that sort. It lets you know like what that situation would be like in the real world, where there are so many more consequences, where the separation between classes is a much bigger hurdle than is portrayed to in films like Cinderella, like Pretty Woman. And for that reason, I think that's why Anora has stuck with so many people, because it is thought provoking and it shows the story of this woman who you might not think you have much in common with, who I might not think I have much in common with. And you start to realize as the story goes on that really her character of Anora, it's hard for me to even call her a character because she just feels like such a real person, which is a credit to writer director Sean Baker. But really, you realize that all of us are really just people who are looking to better ourselves. We're looking for opportunities to improve our lives. We're hopeful. We're optimistic. We have life beat us down sometimes, but we persevere. And so there's a lot of reasons that we are able to connect with Anora, our lead character. This film is Mikey Madison. Mikey Madison is the heart and soul of Anora, and she does such a great job at portraying a woman who, works very hard at her job, gets this opportunity, and then really wants to kind of stand up for herself, stand up for this opportunity. She doesn't like how people look down upon her for her profession. And it's so many things, while also just being extremely charismatic and extremely hilarious in her role, and she's feisty. This character bites, and I mean that in like a literal sense. Like she actually bites someone in this film, and it's just that sequence. Once you get to that sequence, which you'll know it when you see it, hilarious. This film is just bonkers in the best way possible. My ribs were hurting from laughing so much for like 2+ hours. Brilliant. I don't know how they did it. Sean Baker, kudos to you, man. You did a great job with the script and with directing. But really, I think what makes this such a unique experience is that, yes, you were laughing along for like 2 hours, and then the last like 20 minutes or so just kind of slows down significantly, but not in a way that it's necessarily jarring. It allows you to sit and reflect on what has just happened, and then the film becomes so much more real and so much more introspective. And Anora as a character is becoming aware of all of that she has experience of where she is now, and it's such a tragic ending, but it's also so beautiful and so moving. I want to give a shout out to Yura Borisov, who has been getting some heat for supporting actor, and after seeing this movie, I'm like totally on board for that. His character comes in later in the film, when the film probably into the second act of this film. And so once he comes in, he makes a very strong impression with very few words. His character's very reserved, very quiet, very silent, but he's so introspective, and he's watching Anora, and he's actually sees Anora, something that all of the other characters up until this point don't really do. Like, they're aware of her as a person, as a presence, but they don't actually see beyond what she does for a living, her, brashness, her loudness, all of that. They don't see her as an actual human being, but he does, and doesn't say anything about it. He doesn't make this huge romantic speech or whatever. This film doesn't really follow those kinds of tropes, but I think that, again, that makes it so unique. But his character he's the man. He is a man. He's a gentleman. He cares about Anora. You see little moments of tenderness, and it's so beautiful. And when you compare him to that Ivan kid, who at the beginning it was like a little sweet rom-com, a little modern day Pretty Woman, But then as soon as shit goes down and he just bolts, you're like, what the hell, man? You start to realize how much of that fantasy was just a fantasy, and now reality is starting to kick in a little bit. And I just think this film does a wildly amazing job at being entertaining, being introspective, being funny, and just being overall a really great time at the movies. And so yeah, I would highly recommend you go see Anora, seek this film out. It's so worth your time. And once you do, let me know what you think about it and how your experience is like. My experience, my theater was laughing, and right next to me were this like father and daughter. And that just kind of added a level of absurdity to the film. There were some scenes where I was like, I would never in a million years want to watch this with my parents. So that's just like a little warning. Don't go see it with your parents, or do if you have that relationship. It's a really earnest, tender movie, and I feel like the takeaway from this movie is in the language, is in the nudity, is in all of that. It's the humanity that there is in so many different types of people in this world, and just how everyone's kind of trying to better their lives and create more connections. So yeah, definitely understand why there's so much praise for this movie, because it is very deserving. So I'm hoping to see Mikey Madison at the Oscars. Not like physically, I won't be there, but seeing her on the TV nominated, Yura Borisov also, Sean Baker, just everyone deserves all of the awards. Give them everything. So yeah, I loved Anora.